like to welcome you to Boy Meets Wellness, a podcast that discusses the complexities, celebrations, and challenges of building a wellness ritual as a BOI, a person who is born obviously incredible. You are now listening to Boy Meets Wellness with poet, motivational speaker, and wellness lover, Evolve Benton.
BOI, born obviously incredible, especially when you wear it pretty.
All right, Terry. Terry, welcome to the Space family. Welcome to Boy Meets Wellness. We are excited to have you here. I've been telling folks about FIRE, financial independence, retire early. And I think we've had some financial accountants, we've had some real estate agents, but we've never really had folks who do work around like mindset, right? And I think that you've done a lot of work around your own personal mindset when it comes to money and financial independence. So I always start with this question. Who are you and what brings you joy?
It's funny. That's one of those questions that you ask yourself along your journey. You'll get different answers. And interestingly enough, right now for me, I'm at the beginning of trying to answer that question to myself, for myself even. I just turned 50 in May, and such gratitude for getting to this point, and such gratitude for getting to this point in the condition that I'm in, physically, emotionally, financially, in an amazing relationship. I'm deeply in love and have been for 22 years. One of the reasons that I'm in this soul searching is because I'm at a brand new point in my life. Just a week and a half ago, I made the physical move that is kind of proof of concept. We've been dreaming about financial independence, retiring early. Before we even knew what FIRE was, we knew that we needed something different. We didn't know how it was going to turn out, but we knew that getting started was important. But what for sure, somebody that I am that is probably never going to change, because it hasn't changed in this long, is a little bit absent-minded and easily distracted. So you asked a two-part question. I think I only got the one.
No problem. So the second half is what brings you joy?
Oh, what brings me joy? For sure, laughter. Joy brings me joy. One of the things that I've learned about happiness, one from reading about it, but just also experiencing it, is it comes from within. There's plenty of entertainment options out in the world, on the exterior, but that happiness and that joy comes from the inside. And when you get to a point in your journey where you choose happiness, and it's not just like that, don't get me wrong, but it's a series of choices that then becomes kind of a habit. And your benchmark changes. Like my benchmark changed from focusing on things that didn't feel good in the past or things that probably wouldn't feel good in the future to focusing on what were the gifts that those past things brought me, with a little bit of reframing, and what are in the future that will keep that joy coming. So I love to laugh and things that make me smile. It keeps putting more of that in the tank.
That's beautiful. When you said in the beginning, like I'm 50, I know a lot of people. If y'all are watching this on YouTube, if you watching it, if you're just listening, you got to go on YouTube so you can see Terry, because Black don't crack. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people on YouTube watching this like, what? Are you serious? Really? But Black don't crack, and they say, what do they say? Blazing don't raisin, right? Like they have all these things for brown and Black folks, but it does crack when we don't have that joy. We don't take care of ourselves, right? It can crack, right? We have some folks who look, they 30 and they look 60, right? So you can see the freshness and that in your journey and on your life. So for folks who might be new to this FIRE movement, Terry, can you explain to us what is FIRE? What is financial independence, retire early?
For me, even though we started on this journey before we had other people talking about it and naming it and not being just the weirdos all by ourselves, just, I don't know if it's going to work, but we got to try something because the path we're on just doesn't feel good at all. It's really taking a step back and looking at what's important and prioritizing. And that financial independence, yeah, you can hit the lottery, but as we know, that doesn't solve problems. In many cases, it causes more problems because if you can't manage $100, you can't manage 1,000. A million is going to crush you. Not only just from the inner work of being able to, there are different responsibilities, different income levels, and so without having the knowledge of that financial education, it would just be overwhelming. The people will be trying to take advantage of you, and you may not even know if that's happening or not, or you may think you have more than you have. And so there's a splurging. And sometimes that splurging comes from trying to fill a void that isn't even financially related, but our society has told us that the way to get happy and to fill voids is to, come out of pocket for something. My fire journey started with not thinking I would ever be able to retire. And I just wanted to retire in dignity. That's all. I just wanted to be able to retire and not have to work until I died. I wanted to be able to enjoy life, whatever that meant. And I knew it would change over time. And I wanted to be able to have the option to pivot when those times came.
I love that it was a post on Facebook, one of these social medias recently. And I think Brooklyn might have posted it. Brooklyn, we're both really good friends with them. And I think it was like, what's financial independence for you? And I remember probably maybe even 3 years before COVID, me saying an amount, like a money. And this time I said choice. Right?
Yes.
Right. So I was like, oh, I'm changing so much, right? Like before I thought it was like, oh, I need this many $1 million. And I was like, that's something. But really what money gives you is choice, right? Choice that I'm going to take this bus or I'm going to take this private jet. I got to go to work or I don't have to go to work, right? And I think people kind of get caught up in this very like dreamy version of it. Like, oh, I'm going to never work again. And what I see is that a lot of people who do retire early end up doing things that they're more passionate about. It's not that they just stop working, that they just stop moving forward. And I see a lot of that in you. So we always say on Boy Meets Wellness that people who are born obviously incredible always have a team. That's what I've noticed. Everyone always has people that have supported them. So if you had a gratitude list for today, who would be the top 3 people on that list for you?
Oh, my mom for sure. The reason that she would be is, honestly, I didn't know how poor we were until I went to college. All the needs were met. I mean, I knew that things were tight, but the whole community was really, facing those things. But she shared the truth of our financial situation, but I personally didn't feel the burden of it. She taught me how to balance a checkbook. There could be a little bit of, robbing Peter to pay Paul and focus on that timing, but things were taken care of. And the second on that list would be my wife, of course, the OG budget buddy. One of the things that really inspired me and kept me focused throughout this time, especially in the beginning when there wasn't any proof of concept. Both of us grew up poor, in different ways, but we both grew up poor and wanting to experience another version of existence, level up, or be able to do this thing together. The third, this friend, actually, he's the reason that I'm literally sitting right here, right now in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. We were neighbors. in the Bay in Oakland, and he grew up in Guadalajara. He moved back. We missed our friend. Came to visit. I was like, for real? This exists on the planet? We're gonna change some things up because we were originally going to retire to Costa Rica. We were originally going to retire to Costa Rica. We even bought land, but we came here. And I was like, this has got to be it. This has got to be where we go. So, really grateful to Alex. We're friends. He's like a brother to me. Yeah, we got some big plans together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing like friends to go along the journey with you, right? It's nothing like that. So
absolutely.
I remember when I first met you, we had a conversation about budgeting. And, I was telling you how anytime I was hearing that word, it was making me kind of, right? Because I grew up, and when my dad would talk about it, I felt like it was always like a negative thing. It was like, we got to budget more, right? Like it was kind of like we got to tighten up. We're not doing good. It wasn't really like something we do consistently to make sure we're, tracking our money. And I remember you telling me the story about how you and your wife kind of made it a game, right? Yeah. And I was hoping you could kind of share that with folks. Number one, like, what is a budget? Like what's formally a budget, right? Because I think that people have a lot of emotionality connected to it. And then the second part is like, how do you make it more fun, right? And less that feeling of that I told you I was kind of feeling.
Yeah. A lot of people feel it. You're not unique in that. I mean, you're unique in your beautiful way, but you're not unique in that way that the word budget has so many negative connotations, right? For me, from my experience, and very much why I can confidently say this, is that budgets help us to find and fund our yes. So until we have our spending plan, but before you can plan what to spend, you got to know what you bring in, and you have to know where your money is going. When you have that all laid out, you really just get to see. It's almost like a treasure map. You really get to see the competing priorities and then choose which ones are most important. And sometimes you see that there's a bunch of junk in there. Other times you'll see, okay, well, this is important. And something that's been in the back of my mind and in my heart is important, but it's not even on there. So what can I do using this as kind of a blueprint of what it is that I want to do? We vote with our dollars. We vote with our dollars when we spend actual cash, when we swipe, when things are on auto pay, when those subscriptions that we may or may not actually be using are hitting every month. We're still voting with our dollars. So we want to be aware and be really intentional about the choices that we're making and make sure that they align with what's in our heart and how we want to show up in the world. And one of the ways that my wife and I gamified it is credit scores. And we still do it to this day. And so much more stuff is joint and intermingled and commingled. But what's your credit score? And we'll just talk smack, even though we both benefit from the high score of each other, But it's really a mindset and an attitude that you bring to it. And there definitely some, have been some heavy days like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Wouldn't it be nice to just go on vacation, or I can't have fun paying interest on an umbrella drink. That's a hangover right there. When I was younger, I could drink. I didn't have no hangover. Then I got a little bit more, just have a regular day. But now a hangover is 2 days. But the credit card hangovers, those could last for years. The compounding interest will put a whooping on you. Right? It's for each individual is what their situation is and how they can make it fun for them. The credit score is more obvious. One of the more obvious ones. So.
Yeah, really cool, really cool. So tell me about your journey to being, and get me right if I'm not saying this right. Like, I don't even know your formal title, but I know you help people with money. So I don't know if you're financial consultant, advisor, But I know there's some
Yeah.
folks here listening to the show that are like, okay, we know this person knows something about money, right? And they're going to see your bio ahead of this. But what was your journey to get to that process where you weren't just doing it in your personal life, but, you know, you're helping people as well? And tell us what you do,
Yes.
like as a
So,
financial
yeah.
guru.
So I'm a financial coach, and some people may call it also a money coach. It's in there. And my focus is on pre-investing. So there are professionals that can tell you exactly what to do with your money, and how to grow it. I'm before that. I'm laying that foundation with folks. So my focus is on budgeting, debt reduction, saving, and mindset. But the thing about saving is, it's also one of those words that can be kind of confused a little bit. Well, if I'm just saving my money, I'm losing money because inflation. That is true. But saving is just putting something aside for a purpose. And when your purpose for that can be to invest, then you have it to invest. A lot of the things that are important for investing, you can learn and solidify within when you're saving. It takes patience and discipline to be an investor. It takes patience and discipline to save. You got to have that consistency. With social media and the world in general just moving so fast now, you could be at the water cooler. Is that aging me?
Y'all know what a water cooler is. Don't act like you don't. You know what a
We're
water
supposed
cooler
to hang
is.
out now. In the chat, we're supposed to be in a meeting, in a meeting on Zoom. I don't know, is that the water cooler nowadays? But you know, you hear people go, "Oh, I'm investing in this. I put my money in this coin or in this stock," and you're like, "Oh, well, everybody's doing it," and there's that fear of missing out, and you're just chasing whispers of somebody else's experience. But when you know for sure where you stand and you can stand in that strength, and you're like, you can just be happy for that person and know that the timing is not right for you necessarily. But if it is, you will also know that you're not just supposed to go log in into your account and just press some button, that you're supposed to do the research and see if it actually fits into the portfolio that you've taken the time to develop that plan for. And that's where some of that discipline and that patience comes in when you're learning to save that you can then use to invest.
I love that. I love that because, I think you're right. Things are moving so fast and it's almost like people want to skip the foundational stuff. Very much so, right? Like I remember when I opened up my Robinhood account, I had no idea. I was just like, okay, well, I like cannabis. I'll invest in cannabis stocks. I like this. I'll invest in that because I watched the video, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube University. And now I look at my portfolio and I'm like, I wouldn't touch that thing. Some of the stuff I invested in then, right? Because now I actually do research. I know what the company's doing, right? I know how much they're making. I know their profit. I know their loss. I know their founder, which some of that's important to me, right? As an investor, like if your founder is kind of weird, I don't want to do anything with that, right? But I have my own guidelines where before it was more like you said, this fear of missing out, this just like people are saying to invest, so I just invest. And I think a lot of that comes from not having that foundation, which I love that you brought it back to saving, because if you can save consistently, of course you can invest in consistently, right? Because a lot of it is like putting on autopilot, walking away from it and trusting your judgment that the portfolio that you're building is the one that you're supposed to be building.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is energy. I mean, the energy. If you haven't been saving, haven't been budgeting, or paying a lot of interest out with credit cards, and you're hearing those whispers, and you just take some money, but don't even know exactly if that's money that really should be going to rent or mortgage or directly into your mouth for sustenance. There is that's some funky energy, and that follows that money, and the fear that you have that. Okay, so it went from FOMO, that fear of missing out, to fear of this has to work, and that's as long as that money is out in the world being exposed to all of the fluctuations, You feel that, just that, oh, investing should be done with money. You got to be okay with losing it. Don't want to lose it, of course, but you got to be okay with it, which means that it is either it's over and above what you need, or you know that you've reduced your expenses because the joy is from the inside, not from the outside. That now you've created that space where you now can have funds to take those chances with. Because investing is inherently speculative. There are more and less speculative investments, but ultimately it is speculative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just really never know, right? And that's a great pivot, right, to this conversation, because I wanted to talk to you about, hearing your journey. I know you've made it through several recessions and markets going down, 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 right?
Like, as of today, even?
As of today. So any tips that you can give our listeners on how to keep this journey of financial independence going, or strategies to utilize when you are in a recession? Because I think that it's so interesting, right? Like 2 years ago, and everybody was like, yeah, invest in everything and do everything and buy NFT and spend your money. It was just like, yeah. And now everybody quiet. Nobody's really talking about it, right? People are really, really anxious. And this is also a time, I think, when some people get taken advantage of, like you spoke about, right? Start making some of these decisions. So just, speaking to the recession and that journey of financial independence.
Right. So I'm living proof of you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. And where that comes from, it's a little bit of an accident, but I'll take it. For my 30th birthday, I wanted to buy myself a motorcycle, and I started saving up for it. And I got before it reached that point, I got laid off. So I had some money set aside that then had to be repurposed for food and shelter. That then taught me that regardless if I want a motorcycle or this car or this whatever it is, I got to make sure this other thing is taken care of first. The gratitude. I mean, I was sad. I was sad at spending my motorcycle money conceptually, but every bite, every morsel was filled with gratitude. Right, and having that emergency fund, so important. I mean, there's a few people that have that job security, and whether we like who they are at this point or not, the Supreme Court, they have job security. The rest of us, we need an emergency fund, right? After I got my bike, I mean, I had to learn a few more lessons, but I came back to that and made sure I had some money set aside when life's, that's what it does. So back to like in a recession, how did going through that, it actually benefited. We were saving. We're so naive. We didn't even understand anything about the housing market and how it worked. But we were paying down debt, paid down our consumer debt, paid off our credit cards first. Oh, the pure elation from that, right? And then focused on student loans, but not as quickly. We did get those paid off, but not as quickly because we were saving for the house. And then to find out, we were priced out of the market. So the whole time we're putting our pennies away in 2006, 2007, the market was just going up and up and up. We didn't even know. We're priced out. Start looking forward, because I knew that the Bay Area, at that point, the Bay Area, like Oakland, that was my home. That's where I wanted to be. Well, what about the future? Do I always want to live here? Hadn't traveled. What would that look like? And that's how we ended up buying land in Costa Rica. Once you have the land, that's a cost that you can control once you control it. So we got the land. That was 2007. But because we had already conquered that their joy comes from the outside, we didn't change our living standards. We were still living frugally. We were happy, right? We were long distance in the beginning. We're under the same roof. Does it get any better than this, right? So kept those automatic payments and savings. Then the market crashed. We ended up buying our first home, and actually our first home was 4 units because on the news everyone's saying people are losing their homes, Well, those are single family homes. So I started doing research on, well, what else is possible? I think I'm allergic to picket fences. What else is possible, right? So it was a fixer upper, 4 units, and that was our first home, and that actually changed everything. I'm learning real time about what is equity, what is a lot of the principles that I live through is what I help my clients with. And from there, we're like, okay, we've grown now. We got a single family home, and we sold that just a couple months ago, right before interest rates, started wreaking havoc on the market, and just staying prepared, staying prepared.
I love that. And I love that you got that fourplex at that time. Like that was, I mean, I'm sure the price of it was I can't even imagine. It was a steal because that's when like pretty much everyone lost their homes, right? You're talking about that recession, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Goodness.
Yeah. And it was empty. It was completely vacant.
Wow. A fourplex in Oakland that was completely vacant.
Completely vacant. We bought it from the bank. So what I think about, obviously it happened, but what were the things that the person that owned it before, what choices were they making that 3 other rents couldn't sustain that? And I just, in my head, you think about the scenarios. So they somehow got over leveraged. And I don't know if it's, that particular situation, but one of the things that happened is that people started using those homes as ATMs. Whether they, made that smart call of, depending on the situation, well, I have this high interest credit card. I'll just pay it off with this low interest HELOC, home equity line of credit, pay it off. But if you haven't done the inner work, you're back out in the street swiping. And so you've done it again. So you have to have a strategy and a plan. There's good debt and there's bad debt. And there's debt that is on the fence that can go either way, depending on how much.
Yeah. And how you leverage it, right?
Yeah.
So, in your retirement plan, did you all have a FIRE number? And if so, like, how did you come up with that number?
Interestingly enough, we didn't have a FIRE number because we didn't know what FIRE was. It was really incremental. It was, I hate the feeling of having this credit card bill. Okay, get rid of that. And then each level up helped us to feel confident that we could then have bigger dreams. One of the things so we started looking into FIRE after our journey was kind of already, on its way. And a lot of those FIRE plans were based on investing in the stock market through 401k. But by the time I got hip to that, I had already realized that there were other things that I could do that wouldn't tie us up until retirement age. I don't want my money locked up. I wanted to have access to it. So it made more sense for us to focus on creating more equity by paying down that mortgage, because that return was higher and had more of a guarantee than putting it away until we were, 62, 65, 67. Who knew? It could be 84 by the time we actually get to retire, because the age keeps creeping up.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that was given too much control over our individual existences. So it's how do we take care of what we can control? I'm not saying that we didn't invest in the market, but it wasn't 100% of uh, of our plan. Um, our portfolio is probably more real estate heavy. One, because that was our roof. I can't live under a stock certificate, and those don't even exist anymore, right? That's all virtual. Web3 is coming up, but I still can't get in the computer and live.
Your avatar can though, but your avatar.
Who's that? Right?
Peace, family. I want to give you a gift. The guided meditation for wealth is an opportunity for you to start building wealth and growing your income and having a better relationship with money. When I put this meditation together, I was struggling. I was really sitting in some scarcity. And to be honest with you, that still happens to me to this day. This meditation gives you an opportunity to practice and break through that every day. It also gives you an opportunity to move past some of the negative thoughts that you might have around abundance and money. So I'm going to leave the link to this in the show notes or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube so that you can get into the guided meditation for wealth for free. I want you to listen to this at least twice a day and give yourself an opportunity to build a better relationship with money.
Very true. Very true. So one last question, and then I want to pivot to the fun part of our episode, which is called Boy Talk and Hop. If there's one thing that you could change, about your journey, or a few things, right, that you could change about it, or advice you would give others, what would that be?
Happiness comes from the inside, and that helps us to be really frugal and be fine with it and more than fine with it. And to look back, like, I don't remember the stuff that we missed out on, that we missed out on. Because we were able to see our friends' cool vacation pictures. And we started looking at it differently. Like, instead of thinking, oh, I wish that was more like, is that somewhere we think we want to go? We were started, thinking about using them as our scout. We reframed it that way. But in the very beginning, before we were working as a team, when I was just on my own, I hate this shit. I would leave. I would get paid. I would pay all my bills that didn't have anything to do with the credit card. Pay my bills. Go to the grocery store. Fill up my little motorcycle tank gas. I knew from working home that would do it. I would leave $10 in my account. $10 in my account, and then put the rest on a credit card. Next payday, I would do the same thing. That's the only way I knew how to do it. I couldn't just go online and check out how other people were doing it. But I think there are some things, milestone gifts or rewards, I think, that I would have given myself. Probably wouldn't have gone so hard, and would have been creative earlier about, well, they don't have to cost money. I don't know what they would have been, but I was giving myself the space to make that a priority.
Yeah, to spend that time, right?
Yeah, adding some self-care in there somehow.
That's what I was saying, thinking to myself, that self-care, that self-love, and that celebration, right? That celebration of where you made it to. Like, we paid that off, right? And you don't have to do a whole bunch of spending to celebrate yourself, but sometimes it can feel that way.
Yeah. Yes. So just on the back and make it really obvious. Not everybody, and even most people probably shouldn't do it the way that I did it. I went hard. And, even now, well, at the point I realized, oh, this could happen at 50 for me. And I started feeling that, like, you did it before, you can do it again. You can just go. My wife's like, look, I ain't about that life. We're both Tauruses. We enjoy our creature comforts. And she reminded me, we can be kind to ourselves.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, okay, yes, yeah, that's right, thank you. um, but one of the things that was important was realizing, okay, I have this date of 50, and yeah, I have this baby face. Yes, I'm healthy. So really having the strength and the fortitude and the faith in our plan to not go wild and miss that deadline. Because once you understand the way that compound interest works and the power of it, taking a pause, if you take a pause for a month, can end up long term extending something out for years. And I wasn't willing to do that. So really understanding how the numbers work and make your decisions, in conjunction with that and with how you feel inside.
Mm.
But the whole time being happy from within allowed me to go hard. It allowed me to take a look at the numbers and like, okay, well, there is some space here. We can do that. We can take that trip. We can do these things, but know what they mean, understand their impact, and then be able to choose and know for sure, know yourself enough to know which one brings you the most joy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like running through the finish line. How you gonna run? You gonna run, at the same pace, or you gonna get a few yards before and start showboating and then trip and fall.
And they say that,
That's
so many folks get close to that and then end up self-sabotaging, right? I follow this amazing couple, and I think I told you about them, called Our Rich Journey,
oh,
Amon
this
and
journey.
Christina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And my wife and I, we took a course with them this year. We went to Portugal to actually go meet them because that's where they're retired, and got to meet a whole bunch of like-minded folks who are doing the same thing. And so
fantastic.
much of what they talked about was, being willing to try and do some things that were uncomfortable. So even when they first moved to Portugal, they were like, they kind of downsized. They weren't living in, a house they were living in before. They were living in a smaller apartment. Their daughters had to get
Mm-hmm.
used to that, right? And really understand how their money was going to work there before they started to investing there. So all the tools that they learned, even on the beginning of their journey, they can just continue to use it no matter where
Mm-hmm.
they go, right?
Oh, definitely,
And that
definitely.
means downsizing. That means going small sometime before you can actually go big. So
Yeah, and
in your
oh, my
no,
bad.
go on,
And
go on.
in the
No, go on.
going big, who would you be going big for?
Exactly.
If you're not willing to downsize for yourself, then that means you're trying to go big for somebody else, for some outside validation.
Mm-hmm. And their go big is like investing, right? Like, so they're very much like wanted to know, they knew they wanted to invest in real estate when they got there. They knew they wanted to, have their home. They knew all these things because they had done it before, but they didn't know the market. They didn't know
Mm-hmm.
Portugal, right? So they had
Mm-hmm.
to go back to living in that type of lifestyle. So because it was economical, right? They were like, this was a place they could use public transit, get back and forth to school. They didn't have to spend a lot of money. Just, they
Mm-hmm.
went all the way back. And for a lot of people, I think that would be hard because they're like, no, we're retired early. I'm not lowering my means at this point. Right. But it was so intentional. And they
Yeah, it's what we
continue to
say
be
it
that
is.
way. Mm-hmm.
It's what we say it is.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're currently in Mexico, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
place that you all will retire.
Yes.
Is there a reason that you chose that destination? Is it because of the lower cost of living? Your money goes farther? Just a little bit about like the destinations we choose when we do want to
Mm-hmm.
retire early.
You know what's wild is I came here. We came, but this is me and you talking. So
Mm-hmm.
me coming here to visit my friend, I didn't even know anything about Puerto Rico. I didn't know anything other. That's where my homie was, and
Sometimes
I
that's
got
enough.
here. Yeah, I got here, and I was like, "This is amazing." There's so many things for me that made it feel right. Like the way that I was treated by the people here is the way that I was supposed to have been treated uh, in the States. And that wasn't the reality. So there was just a weight that came off my shoulders. And I was like, my standard changed. I'm like, I want this every day. From there, um, that's when I realized um, that that's important. And really, the lower cost of living is a bonus. And this is actually probably one of the higher cost of living spots in Mexico. And coming from the Bay Area, which is one of the higher cost of living in the U.S., we can still feel that it costs less, but it wasn't. I mean, it takes money to pay the bills, but that wasn't the initial inspiration for being here. I just want to be happy. And when we first came down here, that wasn't when I decided I didn't know yet what a retirement date was or the goal. It was just, we're doing good. Let's keep doing good. we're setting things in place. Let's just set things in place. And if I had to come here and work, like work, like get a remote job or work for somebody else, clock in, clock out type of thing, I would have been willing to do that to be here. And I'm grateful that that's not part of this journey. I mean, there's other, I'm gonna continue to coach. It brings me, I'm just like sort of jiggling in my feet right now. Well, wiggle's probably better. The jiggle that I probably, I'm working out to do, but I know my journey. I know how much joy it's brought me, and I'm so honored. Like whenever I'm working with a client and they have that aha, this click, and I'm like, oh, I just feel it. It's like I started coaching because I started jonesing for people. Someone has a win financially. That means that's one less person being taken advantage of by the structures of the financial services industry. So their win becomes my win. I'm vicariously, taking somebody out. So yeah, it just feels good because based on the project that we have in mind, we're not just building a single family home. We're building at this point slated at 9 units, a 9-unit building, because I'm 50 now. Everything is working physically, but that's not always going to be. And isolation is one of the things that takes elders out, that loneliness. Mm-hmm. And while we're mobile and everything's still functioning, we create a community. I mean, not to be morbid, but I want to die in the home that we build. We're building an age in place. I don't want to go to some other building that's confusing and disorienting, and that takes me out. But before I, get to that point, we don't have a ball. Rooftop pool or kitchen, just gym, their guest rooms. There's of the 9 units, one is ours, so there's 8 more, 2 bedrooms and 6 1-bedrooms. And the reason that I designed it that way was, well, we have these shared guest rooms, so people don't have to get more home than they need just because we're in a place where people are going to come visit. If folks want to visit, there's a shared guest room. They rent the guest room, and the funds from that rent goes to the HOA pot, and we're all taking care of each other.
I love it.
It's intentional in the thought of it, but it's not in a typical intentional community, because it's starting with us. It's not starting with the group.
Yeah. That's going to be exciting. I can't wait to visit. I can't wait till the project is done. It's going to be some good stuff. So if someone wanted to work with you, Terry, if they're listening to this and they're like, yo, I just found my financial coach. Like, this is it. How do they work with you? How do they reach out to you? How do they find you?
Yeah. So my website, bankonitfc.com. That's where you go to book your 30-minute session. And, in that session, we just talk about, what your goals are and whether or not there's something that I can help you with. And really, if we vibe together, because one of the things that financial freedom journey has gotten for me is choice. Mm. And, I get to choose who I work with or who I don't work with. And just as someone might not want to work with me, well, that 30-minute call, that's when we really find that out.
Okay, nice, y'all. We're going to put that in the show notes if you're listening, and we'll put that also in the description of the video on YouTube. So, Terry, let's have some fun. We got Boy Talking Hop, right? I'm going to give you some statements, and you're just going to fill in the blank, right? So, you got it? You cool with that?
I'm filling in the blank. Okay.
All right. The first one is love is.
Love is all there is.
Money is.
Tool.
Wellness is.
It's in everything. It touches everything that we do and what we are.
If you could speak to anyone, dead or alive, who would it be, and what would you speak about?
Grandmother. She actually passed when my mom was 15. So I never met her, and whatever she wanted to talk about, her agenda, whatever. I just want to hear her voice, hear what she sounds like. My mother has a beautiful handwriting, and she got that from her mom. Now I don't have it. It's legible, but that my father got in there and scribbled some things up. But just my grandma.
My favorite book is.
My favorite book is. Well, I have two. My favorite childhood book is, I think, A Pocket for Corduroy. I don't know. It just sticks out somehow. And as an adult, it is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
I haven't read that one. I gotta check it out. Okay.
Shifted all of them paradigms.
Okay. I got a book on my list now. My favorite food is
bacon.
Candy bacon or pork bacon, turkey bacon, any bacon.
OG. OG bacon.
Give you the pig, give you the pop in the pan, give you all of that, right? Give you all of that. Abundance is
around us. We just got to get in its way.
Marriage is. And last but never least, Terry is.
That's just me. What you see is what you get. Too lazy for putting on air. I only work hard because I don't want to work hard.
I hear you with that. Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you so much for being here, for, being willing to share your journey with us, share your tips, share your knowledge. Folks, if you haven't had your notebook out, I need you to have had it out. And if not, you need to rewind the episode, go take these tips down. And if you're interested, please book a session with Terry. I did. And they're one of the folks I go to ask questions. I just love having them in the community, in the space. And Terry, you're always welcomed here. We'll have to have you back when you're almost done with this project to really talk about like what that process was like and how you plan that, because I know that there's so many folks who are interested in the construction side of real estate, which is a whole nother thing. And I think that would be a cool conversation too.
Yes, I have lots to learn with that, but yes. My name is Terry, and I'm born obviously incredible.
Thanks for listening to Boy Meets Wellness. Stay connected on and off the show by following us online at Boy Meets Wellness. That's boy with an I. Until next time, go be incredible.